Hey there. That's not how I normally start my videos. It's normally bam, but I'm running late, and so I didn't get to it. How are you tonight? It's 8:44 p.m. in St. Louis, Missouri. It's 8/15, 2022. That'd be August. You're watching the Deal with Realty live stream. What is the Deal with Realty live stream, and who am I? Well, my name is John Schenk, and I am the founder and managing broker of Deal with Realty in St. Louis, Missouri. We're a micro brokerage, and we help buyers buy homes and sellers sell theirs. I mean, that's what we do. That's my day job. And then at night, sometimes at 9 a.m. on daily times, we have the live stream, and we talk about real estate events. We talk about real estate news. We provide real estate commentary. I say we, it's always been me so far, but that doesn't mean it's always going to be that way. It just means it's been that way since we started. So anyway, yeah, I'm running late. I'm supposed to be at 8:40. I missed it. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. I'm going to go over a bunch of things tonight. Man, I ran into an appraiser that is an absolute jerk. Absolute jerk. And I just want to share it with you. Did some stuff with a home inspection this morning. Worked on some other things. Have some articles. Capri Sun not doing itself any favors right now. If it tastes a little funny, maybe you shouldn't drink it. So, yeah, that's what I've got tonight. I think we'll just get into it, right? I mean, let's just get started. So, let me check my list real quick. It says, everything's different now, huh? So the first thing, and I didn't really do this right, but I did want to talk about it. Have you ever worked with a transaction coordinator in a real estate deal? Do you know what a transaction coordinator is? So no offense to transaction coordinators, but they don't really do a whole lot other than just take care of the deal after the contract's already been signed. So they get paid maybe an hourly wage. They get paid maybe, I don't think they'll get a bonus, but they basically get an hourly wage to sit there and fire away angry emails at you, the agent, on their computer all day. At least that's what this one is doing. What I found, I have a deal, and I should have known better. Whenever you work with a big team, they typically have lots of people in the background working for them, and I had like 10 offers on this house, and I should have said, by the way, if we accept your offer, are we going to have to work with a transaction coordinator? And if they would have said yes, I think I might have gone with someone else. In the real estate game, I get paid one way. That's when I complete a transaction. So if someone buys a house or when someone sells a house, that's when I get paid. I don't get paid anything else. So if I'm driving around showing houses for like years for people, I don't get paid for that. I only get paid if they actually buy a house. Transaction coordinator is a little different. Transaction coordinator gets paid every week. They get a flat fee or something from their team, and that's what they do. That's what they do. It's terrible. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, because what that allows them to do, I mean, you're working on a deal where you're getting paid commission, and you're sitting here and you're trying to basically deal with somebody that's just like, they don't care if your deal gets done or not. They don't care anything about you. If your deal doesn't close, it doesn't hurt them. They're still going to get paid on Friday. It's quite a jerk thing, and they treat you like trash. So here in this particular deal, I was working with a very nice agent. She had a very good offer. Sellers accepted her offer. Everything was fine. No mention of this transaction coordinator. The first day after the deal is signed, I get this angry email from this woman that says, "You're not allowed to contact the agent anymore. I am the closing coordinator, and you can do these things. If you need anything at all, I will be your only point of contact." And I was like, who the hell are you? And what is this? Oh, and then it said, and one of the things that I want you to know, it's 8:49. One of the things I want you to know about real estate deals is a lot of people get this confused. They think if they work with an agent, they think that their agent gets credit for the sale. Well, if you work for a big team, they only give credit to the manager of the team. So that's how you'll see, like on Zillow, you know, when you see like somebody's done 2,000 transactions in a year and you're like, well, that seems like a bunch. Well, it turns out they just have a big team. They just have a big team. And so all those people, when they do a transaction, it doesn't count. It just goes straight to the leader of the team. So of course they put that in there. And when you're the listing agent, you have the ability to change who does the sale. You have to do it. So, I mean, that could be a real jerk and just not. It's not worth my time. But anyway, first she says, you know, hey, you know, you can only talk to me, and I'm fine with that because I've been around brokerages enough to know that if you're a transaction coordinator, it means you're bad dealing with people, which I don't know why you would ever want to put someone in a position like that, because that would be it just seems bad. It's like basically they couldn't hack it as a real estate agent, and so they picked up this job as a transaction coordinator, maybe to feel like they haven't, you know, they aren't a total failure. I don't know. It's very annoying. But anyway, been going back and forth with this transaction coordinator, and I just don't understand. I worked with the agent just fine. There's never been an issue. But this transaction coordinator, she writes these things, and it's like, all you want me to do is fight with you because the things you write are terrible. So, I mean, that's what I'm dealing with. I am swearing to you right now, 8:51 on a Monday night, that if I have to do a deal, before I even tell my sellers we should accept this offer, I'm going to ask if there's a transaction coordinator involved. When you're the buyer's agent, you don't have that luxury because your buyers want to buy a house, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, they don't care if you have a transaction. Your sellers don't care if there's a transaction coordinator in the deal. I'm just saying they definitely don't make things smoother on the side that they're not on. That's all. And the other thing is they don't have to work like in the field. So I'm getting emails at like 7 a.m, you know, like they can be done by noon. They don't have to go out and do anything. It's very, very annoying. I just wanted to share that with you. We'll move on. I wanted to go over something that I thought was kind of interesting. And that is, you know, in this day and age, the houses are selling so fast that you really don't get a lot of concessions as a buyer. I've never been one to really get after somebody. Let me just try and explain the difference. So if you work for, like, let's just go way into it. So how do you think some of those real estate teams make enough money to advertise? Well, I'll tell you, they do a pay-to-play scheme, and it's not really illegal. What they do is they say to any vendor that wants to do work for them, they say, okay, if you want to do work for us, you need to pay us some money to advertise, and we'll advertise together. So your home inspector, that guy's probably on a bigger one, that guy's probably getting money. Now, I refuse to pay anybody for a referral. I think it's wrong. I think that's just not ethical. But again, they have huge businesses and I don't. So what the right move is and the ethical move is two different things. So anyway, so what they do is they get these inspections, and the inspections cost like $2,000, and they inspect every single inch of this property, and they'll find all kinds of garbage. And then when you go to negotiate, they're like, well, we'll just walk. Now in a normal market, you say, well, I mean, okay, but we don't want you to walk. It's just, we don't want to fix all these things. There's no way. But in this market, you know, you're hiring an inspector and they're basically like useless unless you want to walk from the contract, because that's really the only way you can get out is through the inspection. But you often don't even get a chance to negotiate the inspection component anyway. So I think it's fair to say that as a buyer's agent, okay, you should probably like your building inspector because they may help your clients find something in a home that they would not have otherwise seen. On the flip side, if you're the listing agent, you probably hate home inspectors, all of them. I know that when I list a house and I hear some of the stuff that I get from a home inspector, it just makes me nauseous. I just try to treat people fair. Like, we have this one deal, and that's the one I wanted to talk about. And like I said, it's a very hot market still in St. Louis, but we were able to get this house at a pretty good deal. And so I said, hey, we had a negotiation, and when we got inspections in the offer, and the agent and I are working together very well. There's no transaction coordinator, and there's some concerns about this property, and it's reasonable to have concerns based on the age of the property. And we've agreed to work together, and we had an inspection. And the first thing he asked, even before he sent over the signed offer, he's like, "Are you going to just come at me on inspections?" And I said, "No, that's just not in my nature. That's not who I am." Obviously, if it's something that we can't see or would not have known in advance, we'll have to talk about it, but hopefully we can work things out. And he said, "Well, that's fair." And that's where I'm at. And so we were looking at this, we had the inspection, and I can just say it. The boiler wasn't working. Okay. Now I've got an inspection period. I've got this time. What do I do when the boiler's not working? Okay. I could just write up an inspection notice and put boiler's not working, repair and replace, or replace. Okay. That would be one option. But if you're working well with the listing agent, maybe the seller knows how to work the boiler and the inspector doesn't. And so in a deal that I had, I was going to end up having to fix the boiler, or I could just say, "Hey, does the boiler work? And could I see evidence of it working?" And the listing agent said, Sure. What time do you want to do that? And so I went and saw, and the boiler works. So I'm not going to have to ask for them to fix the boiler. I already know it works. And I guess what I wanted to tell you is that doesn't happen very often now. It's such an adversarial relationship. When they bring in these big outfits, bring in, paid for home inspectors that are just dinging you on everything. When you get a 100-page report on a house built in 1995, there's just something wrong about that. There's just something wrong. And so it automatically starts on a bad spot. Plus, sellers always tend to believe that their house is worth a lot of money. Number one, they're biased, and they believe that their house is great because they took care of it and it's their home. They're not aware of if codes change. They don't know any of that stuff. They just know that they've spent a lot of money on their home. And so what happens during the inspection process is, here you've agreed to a price, and then all of a sudden it looks like you're trying to pull one over on the seller when you come back to negotiate repairs. So I understand that. I'm hopeful that we can get a deal get a deal done on this. The things that we found in this particular home weren't things that were obvious. That's one of the things that irritates me too. Like, so if you put together a strong listing seller's disclosure, like let's say you say that the window has a cracked seal. Okay. You better not see on an inspection notice you're required to fix the cracked seal. You actually told the people in advance of them writing an offer that the seal was cracked. I've seen agents do that. They put all this stuff in there, and like, it was in the disclosure. That's not our problem. So anyway, I would like to be able to work with agents. I would like to be able to work with buyers and sellers to come up with solutions on home inspections so that there wouldn't be these issues that come up. I just happened to be at one where there was a three-way switch that was broken, and the seller had no idea that the three-way switch wasn't working. They don't even use that room. And so what I'm saying to you is, so much can be gleaned if you can work together to get a deal done. Try it sometime. Hopefully it works. There's a time to be a jerk, and then there's a time to just try and get things done and do the right thing. And so I have to say I'm very impressed with the listing agent as well as the sellers in this particular deal, because they don't have to. They don't have to keep me in the loop. They don't have to do anything. They're not required to do anything except send me back a resolution within the time frame that we've agreed to previous. So that's what I have to say about that. And then I have one other thing that I just wanted to talk about that just drives me crazy. And I don't know how I'm going to express this to you. I don't know how I can explain this to you. If you are an agent, okay, you might understand. if you're not an agent, maybe you don't understand, but let's go through this and let's just let it out. Okay. Somewhere along the lines of history, somebody came up with this idea that appraisers, home appraisers, are always right in their appraisals. And so it manifests itself in a couple of different ways. One, if you want to list your house for sale, you might consider calling an appraiser to come in. Now they're going to charge you like probably between $400 and $600, maybe a little more, to come in, and they're going to find comparable sales, and then they're going to try and make a few calculations and say, this is the price that your home should sell for. And that's good for a couple things. Maybe you're refinancing your house. But that's about it, to be honest. If you're working with an agent probably spends more time in the field and is probably going to help you with a price strategy that's going to get the maximum amount of money for your home. And if that happens, that could be a different number than what the appraiser came up with. As an example, maybe 2 or 3 years ago in Afton, I mean, two bedroom, 1-bath home with a 1-car garage is going to sell for $150,000. And I mean, it's not even, it's just obvious. I mean, that's just what it would sell for. Now, in that time, let's just say it was like now. So let's say somebody bought a house for $180,000. Well, the appraiser would say, no, you can't. That's too much. That's too much. All these homes sold for $150,000. So the appraisal would not allow you to get a loan on that property. You could still get the loan, but you would have to pay the difference between what the property actually sold for and what it appraised for. We call it an appraisal gap. So in this market right now, we're in St. Louis. Now there's all kinds of indicators that say that the market is cooling and it's not great. We had that report yesterday that Google had a 2,750% increase in sell my home fast keywords. So we know it's changing, but in this market, it's possible, or it has been possible, for things not to appraise. Okay. So what they do, what agents will do, at least on the listing side, what they want to see something called like appraisal gap coverage. And all that is saying that if the house doesn't appraise, we agree to pay X amount more to get the deal done. It varies based on the price of the house. So like on a $400,000 house, you're probably coming in with an appraisal gap coverage of maybe $40,000, which is crazy. I get it. I don't ever want people to have to pay over the appraisal. But I just want to go over what happened to me, because my lender and I are just in awe of how big of a jerk this appraiser is that appraised one of my properties that I am representing the buyer on. Let's just say that the house contract, let's just say it went under contract for $300,000. Okay. Do you know what the appraiser came up with in their grand scheme of looking at the comps and coming up with a number? $299,000. I kid you not. The appraiser has the contract. Okay. The appraiser has the comps, all of which were like $20,000 and $30,000 over. And they came back with $299,000 on a $300,000 house. Now, what does that mean? That means in this particular deal, my buyer has to pay that extra $1,000. It's just so petty. It's just so petty. And I had somebody contact the appraiser, and she just said, look, this guy, it's not going to work out. It's not going to work out. Now, so what can I do? What can I do as an agent in St. Louis? Well, all I can honestly do is remember the guy's name. And then whenever his name comes up in another deal as the appraiser, I can literally say, we're not using that guy. You can use anybody else, but we're not using that guy, because that's ridiculous. And honestly, I've had my license since 2009. This is the first time this has happened, that anyone would be so petty as to miss the appraisal by $1,000. I just don't have any. I have no respect for that guy. and I want nothing to do with them. I've already remembered his name. It's already tracked, and I don't forget names, especially when they do things like that. Is it going to hurt him in the end? No, because getting an appraiser's license is difficult. So there's not that many of them. There's enough that I don't ever have to use him again. But anyway, I just found that to be so off-putting and so terrible. So if something like that ever happened to you, you should put it in the chat. You should put it in the comments. You should let me know if something like that's ever happened. It's never happened to me. I was talking to my lender and she was like, this is ridiculous. And we all know that it is. And so I just wanted to share that with you. An appraiser, a lot of people think the appraiser is the savior of the deal. Like the appraiser is the all-knowing and all-powerful and all great and all perfect. And they're not. I have very little respect for a home appraiser. After what just happened to me, seriously, it's ridiculous. It's so bad. And then the other thing is, look, how many times, like it's so subjective. So we'll go and we'll get a house under contract and the appraisal come back, the house is worth $10,000 more than what the people paid. How is that even possible? How is that even, how do you, like, do you think that no one else wanted to buy the house and we were just lucky and we got it for $10,000 less? And then other times it's right on the money. Like, oh, it just happened to be, this is perfect. Let me tell you another appraisal story. The idea is that it's an arm's length transaction. That means like no one knew, but this person bought this house for X amount of dollars and the appraiser should know that, going into it. Last year I had a deal where I was representing the seller. We had, I think, 14 offers on the house. Okay. 3 of the offers, one of the offers was, I'd say like 26,000. Another one was 27,000. Another one was 27,000. So there were 2 at 27 and 1 at 26. Because of the way the deals were set up, we took the house that was 26,000 over asking. The appraiser told me, we're not going to appraise this. We're not going to be able to get your number because there's no other comps in the area. He said, if you can show me comps of stuff that's better, maybe we'll get the right number. And so I pulled all these comps. And this particular home that I had, it was a brick home. It was a beautiful home. And just down the road, there were frame houses that were not as nice that were selling for much more. And the issue is that the appraisals hadn't caught up with the market. But that guy again, he's like, no, can't do that. That was a different guy. But I wasn't mad about him because he actually took the time to say, look, if you have any way that I can get this to appraise, I'll work with you. Did he work with me in the end? No. But at least he wasn't a jerk like this other guy. This other guy won't even talk to me. Makes me mad. So you should tell me about it sometime. Seriously. I wanted to get into stuff tonight. I don't want to spend all day venting, but boy, that appraiser guy's a jerk. Let's get into our Google Trends article. I have to hit the button. Let me do that. So I don't know how this is going to work. I think I can do it that way. Let me see how it turned out. Okay. So what do you all know about Capri Sun? Here's what I know about Capri Sun. When I was a kid, I liked Capri Sun. It was good. Now I don't know where it went. Oh, good Lord. Oh, they booted me. Nice. Did they really? There we go. I must have hit the wrong button. Maybe. Anyway, it says Kraft Heinz recalls thousands of Capri Sun pouches over cleaning solution contamination. Now, so like I said, when I was like 5, we had Capri Sun. It was like a big deal, and I liked it. And you had that little straw, and you stabbed the pouch. And if you're wrong, you stabbed right through everything. It would leak everywhere. It was really a terrible idea for kids. You'd think you'd want to have a lid or something like a. Anyway, so I like Capri Sun. Then, I'm old now. I don't want it now. But just think about how bizarre things are when you have Kraft Heinz is a large corporation, and they produce millions of packets of Capri Sun, and they have to recall thousands of Capri Sun pouches over cleaning solution contamination. What's this about? Let's take a look. It says Kraft Heinz issued a voluntary recall of more than 5,700 cartons of wild cherry flavored Capri Sun drinks that were contaminated with cleaning solution used on food processing equipment. It said Kraft Heinz announced the recall after it received several taste complaints from consumers. The affected products are individual foiled juices pouches that are sold in paperboard cartons, according to the statement. It says no injuries attributed to the contaminations were immediately reported. So I'm trying to figure out, like, did the kids that liked wild cherry Capri Sun, were they like, Mom, this doesn't taste right? And do you know how bad, like, mothers would freak if their kid was, drinking something that was not healthy? I mean, we have organic stuff now for a reason. It's just because you can get away with it. Anyway, it says no injury. Like, maybe I read that. No injuries attributed to the contaminations were immediately reported. It says the affected cases were shipped. They don't even know where they went. It says, however, we can't know where retailers ship the product, so we don't want to be overly prescriptive on location. And then it says the name of the cleaning agent that contaminated the project was unclear, which to me seems like, I think you should at least tell people what they were. Like, do you remember the manager urinating in the Arby's milkshakes story we had a while back? I think we should have the name. We should know, like, what is the product? And then it says the risk of serious adverse health consequences is remote, but that contaminated products should not be consumed because they could have an off taste and cause an upset stomach. To me, it's just, I just want when kids specifically, when you have a product that kids use, I would really like for them to, pay a little more attention. I mean, it's kind of gross. It's just kind of gross. Anyway, let's move on. I did want to go. I'm having trouble flipping buttons. I think because it's getting kind of late. Sorry. Here is the Deerwood Realty website, but what I want you to see is down here. The current interest rates for mortgages on a 30-year fixed. The survey says 5.25% today, an improvement of 8 basis points. I believe that is 8 basis points. Anytime you can stay under 5.5%, I think we'd be in great shape. And I think that's okay. What always happens is the Fed raises rates, like they raised it, 50 basis points or 75 basis points. And then everybody comes and asks me, like, John, does that mean the rates are going up? And I'm always like, well, it should go up at some point, but it doesn't. It's not in lockstep. It doesn't do it immediately. And so in this case, they did raise the rates. They've been raising them for a while, but it has not had the effect in the mortgage market yet of just going straight up. In fact, you can see just on the chart. Oh, I hit the wrong button here. Sorry. You can see on the chart. Let me get to the right page. I mean, it kind of fell off a cliff after it spiked. So I don't know. What do you think? Let's continue. I saw this article and I thought it was interesting. I don't know if I'm seeing the same thing in my market, but I thought we should go over it. And so it says buyers increasingly back out of deals. And this is on Realty Times. And it says for the past 2 years, the demand for real estate has been enormous. Several factors converge for that to be the case. For example, the pandemic meant people could work remotely so they could move anywhere in the country. Inflation led buyers to want a hard asset like property. And there's also a low inventory of homes, so buyers were clamoring and often engaging in bidding wars. This line here, inflation led buyers to want a hard asset. I can't believe that's 100% true, because the real inflation that I was complaining about was happening in January. And I felt like the Fed at that time should be raising the rates, and they didn't. So I don't agree with that. But what I would say instead of this, you should say the rates at the time were in the threes. So you could say that the mortgage rates led buyers to be able to afford a home much grander than they could have originally envisioned. You know, I've talked about this. I had a buyer that wanted to buy, was approved to buy a $475,000 home, and when the rates went up to the rates went up to 5.5%, they were down looking at like a $350,000 home, $375,000. I mean, it was literally $100,000 difference because they are controlled by monthly payments, monthly mortgage payments. And so, you know, what do I think of that? I don't know. I thought it was kind of interesting. So according to this article, the inflation led buyers to want a hard asset. I don't believe that's the case. I believe cheap money allowed people to buy hopefully a better house than they could have ever dreamed about. I mean, there's a big difference between a $475,000 house and a $350,000 house. Besides the number, it's what you get for the money. I hope I don't have a cough or anything because I just drank all my water. Not good. Anyway, let's get back into this article. I'm sorry. I'm kind of going all over the place tonight. It says now, after 2 years of a frenzied market, things might be changing. According to a new report from Redfin, around 60,000 purchase agreements fell through in the U.S. in July, which was about 15% of all the homes that went under contract in June. This was the highest cancellation rate since early 2020, when the initial days of the pandemic led to an almost complete stop of the real estate market and associated transactions. So I don't want you to think that I'm picking on the article. It's much easier to pick on an article than it is to write one. But my remembrance of 2020, I had a deal where I represented the buyers, and it was just during the pandemic. And we went and closed on the deal. That wasn't an issue. And then about a couple weeks later, I had another deal where I went in, and then it was like, you couldn't go in the office for closing. You had to sign a couple waivers. One of the waivers was because of the Rona, they weren't filing title fast enough. They weren't recording titles in the county offices. And so you agreed to hold the title company harmless if there were any claims against your title between the time that they closed on the deal and the time it was recorded. There was an affidavit you had to sign that says you currently still have a job, that it wasn't lost due to the pandemic. And so that was what I saw, but I didn't see people not doing deals. In fact, it seemed to skyrocket as soon as the pandemic started. It says, but by the way, like right now, I do see a lot of houses going back on the market. And I was seeing them a while ago, and my answer to that, or my reasoning for that, was they're going back on the market because a lot of those buyers at the time were still thinking that they were in the threes for their mortgage rate, and the rates had moved up to like 5.7%, and they just didn't know it. I mean, some lenders give you a letter for like 6 months, so it wouldn't have been obvious to them that the rates had changed so dramatically. Now I think most everyone knows that the rates are, in the fives at least. And so that's brought some clarity to the market. And I think it keeps deals from people bailing from those things. But, there's just a lot of psychology involved in this situation. One, if you're an agent and you've been showing a buyer a house for 2 years and they still haven't bought, you just hope they buy something because you've already lost your money. And so you're happy to throw somebody in a house that they don't really particularly want and isn't the right fit because you're tired of them. I think that happened. I also think that, have you ever lost on something and vowed like, hey, I'm going to try again, and this time I'm going to win? A lot of people have that personality. And so whenever you lose out for instance, one of the houses I had listed, there were 20 offers. And I'd say there were 5 offers of that 20 that were just outstanding offers. We took one of them. So 4 people really put in a great offer and ended up not getting it. And you try to do that over and over again. Sometimes I think people just want to win the bidding war and don't really care about the house at a certain point. And so I think that happened. Another thing I think happened was I have some background in construction. I have some background in, home repair, home improvement. And I know that a lot of agents don't. And how that manifests itself is when I'm going through a house, I'm pointing out to my buyer everything I see in the home that might be iffy. So like if we go and see the systems like the HVAC, if that thing is 40 years old, I flat out tell them like, look, this could be between $6,000 and $12,000 to replace. If we go by the water heater and it's ancient, I point that out. If I see mold, I don't really, obviously there's so many different kinds of mold. I mean, I'll point it out, but I don't have any sort of, this is definitely mold type thing, or we definitely know moisture in a basement, mildew smells, things of that nature. Things that would cost buyers money, I tell them about. I feel like it's my duty. Now, like I said, I don't know everything wrong with a house, but my approach is going to be drastically different than the buyer's agent that's looking at the wall color and the style of the home, the interior decor, and saying, oh, isn't this a wonderful home? You should live here, with knowing nothing about any of the systems of the home, their costs, or if they're even a problem or not. So that's just a difference between me and some other buyer's agents. That may be what's happening in the marketplace, is that buyers have been looking for a long time. They finally won a bidding war. They're so excited. And then when they get the inspection, they're like, this house is trash. Why did my agent let me get this house? Well, it turns out your agent doesn't know anything about those things that are probably more important than the color of the walls. Like probably a lot more important. Anyway, it says one reason is that there's less competition. When people are facing a lot of competition as buyers, they don't want to miss opportunities. There's a sense of urgency. Now there's less competition because the market appears to be slowing. So buyers have more room to negotiate, which can in certain situations lead them to back out of deals. But you know what? I don't agree with that. So when you make an offer, okay, let's say right now in this market, a house has been on the market for 2 weeks. So let's say you come in at asking price or below asking price, and they come in and they say, we'll take asking price. And you say, all right, we've been looking for a long time. Here's asking price. Okay. You're not backing out of a deal then. Okay. You never had an offer in the first place. You're just completing the offer by negotiating. That's not backing out of a deal. So that's number one. Number two, it says buyers are keeping contingencies like inspections and appraisal contingencies, whereas even a few months ago, they were waiving those to stay competitive. When the buyers have these contingencies in place, they have the flexibility to deal with issues that might come up as they're in the buying process. So definitely that was the case. I've told you how you would get around an appraisal contingency. I've told you how you would get around a home inspection. I recommend you get a home inspection every single time. Even though I walk through the house and I see a lot of things, I'm not trained as an inspector and I miss things. And I also don't know everything. I was in a house where the electric panel isn't wired properly. I have no idea if it's wired properly. I mean, when you get in the box, apparently a ground wire was supposed to go somewhere. I don't know that. I don't claim to be an electrician. So I agree. Now, when you do back out, you lose your inspection, the money you paid for your inspection. If you have an appraisal, you lose the money you paid for the appraisal most of the time. So I'm not certain that that more people are bailing because of inspections. Excuse me. If you find something in a house that you're not comfortable with, you have the right to leave based on some offers. Take advantage of it. It's not a bad thing to back out of a deal, is my opinion. It's not good, but I mean, sometimes it's better. I think the biggest thing I have that I see is, buyers get cold feet. They're like, what are we doing? Like, why are we buying this house? It says another reason for people backing out of deals is the highest interest rates, which are making homes less affordable. That's on the buyer. They need to know what their payments are going to be. And that's on the lender too. And, lenders are not all the same. A lot of people will be like, hey, we'll go with the cheapest lender. Well, or we'll go with our credit union because we do everything with our credit union. Well, when the credit union doesn't tell you what your payments are going to be on a certain amount of price, and they just say, here's your pre-approval letter. We haven't really looked at it, but it's probably close to this. That's not really providing a service. It's not really helping you. So, I mean, I can believe it, but I don't like it. It said the Fed is working on pouring water on red hot inflation through tightening. In June, the Fed raised the benchmark interest rates by 75 basis points. It was the largest hike in rates since 1984. Then at the end of July, they announced another 75 basis point increase. It says we don't know yet if raising rates will help slow inflation, but it's making it more expensive to borrow money that can significantly change the plans of would-be buyers. But it's gone down, and I showed you it's gone down. It says if you made an offer when the rates were 5%, but you didn't lock it in, and the deal is going to close at nearly 6%, you may not be able to afford the same home, or you may not qualify for a loan anymore. And so, just for all of you out there, when you write an offer contingent on financing, you can write it contingent on a rate not to exceed. So in my offers lately, I've been at 6%. If the deal is, if we can't get a loan for less than 6%, 30-year fixed, we're out. And that's just the way it is. Have we had to leave because of an interest rate hike? No. And I'll talk to the buyer about that. Perhaps, say rates go up to 10. Okay. That means somebody can probably buy a $150,000 house when they could have bought a $250,000 house, originally. We'll just go over it. Like, do you feel comfortable paying this amount for this house at this time? What I think is lost in this is that there are people that need to buy homes and sell homes every day of the year. I mean, it's not like they can time the market. It's like we need to buy a house because something's happening in our lives that we need to buy a house for. And that's okay. That's a good thing. But, you just have to know, if the rates are high, you just have to know kind of what you can afford and things of that nature. It says if a third major factor is that there's a general sense of uncertainty and unease about the economy. But that doesn't mean, like, I'm uncertain about the economy, okay? Am I more uncertain about the economy now than I've ever been? No. Well, what does that mean? I don't know. Here's what I do know is that, sometimes you have to take chances. Okay. But if you put an offer in and it's an accepted offer, you shouldn't be walking out because there's this general sense of uncertainty and unease about the economy. My opinion is you should never have written an offer in the first place. It says, according to Fannie Mae's Home Purchase Sentiment Index, only 20% of respondents recently said they think it's a good time to buy a home. The labor market seems to be faring well after the recession induced by the pandemic, but regardless, consumers and home buyers are growing increasingly concerned. It says, in June, 81% of consumers said the economy was on the wrong track. Fannie Mae's senior vice president, chief economist, said it shows that people are frustrated with inflation and the slowing economy. There were also more than 20% of respondents that said they had worries about their job stability. And that's another interesting thing. How many of you ever feel like your job is secure? Like I'll tell you, in the back of my mind, my fear is always that I won't have a buyer or a seller to sell a home to or help buy a home. I have 7 or 8 buyers right now, but I still get nervous about it. But I've lived with that since 2009, So again, it doesn't answer for why you would write an offer on a house and then be concerned about the economy. It says it looks as if people's concern might not be abating anytime soon. Mortgage rates are likely to continue to go up. They've already gone from just over 3% for the average 30-year fixed rate loan in January to around 6%. Until there's strong evidence that inflation has peaked, rates will likely stay on an upward trajectory. Do you think that we're at peak inflation? On the flip side, because there's still a housing shortage, prices are likely to keep going up in the coming months. Although appreciation rates will probably slow. Inventory is improving, but still tight because builders have slowed their production of single-family homes. Finally, in very pricey markets where homes were already unaffordable, most will be more sensitive to rate changes for mortgages. So there may be opportunities for some buyers that wouldn't have had otherwise. Now, and that doesn't make any sense either. I have one buyer right now that can buy in cash at least to $1 million. They don't care if the rates go up or down. They don't want a mortgage. They don't even care. So that leads me to believe they're not thinking that one through. I saw this article. I wanted to go over it with you. I don't know the answer. This was out of Baltimore, and the headline is deceiving. I don't think on purpose, but it says homeowners forced to pay a mortgage for homes that were torn down from sinkhole. Now, I don't know that they were torn down. I know that there was a sinkhole under one of the houses. There were row houses, and 2 of the 3 were vacant. They did interview the man that wasn't allowed to be in his home, and so let's go over that. It says it's been a month since a large sinkhole developed on the sidewalk on North Avenue in Baltimore, forcing 3 houses to be torn down. It says homeowners are still dealing with the effects and are calling on the city for help. I'm just losing all the way around. I can't not pay the mortgage and have my credit go bad, but I'm paying for a house that's not even there. It says Bell is one of the homeowners who lost his house to a sinkhole. Now, my understanding is they've been condemned. I don't know that they've torn them down. If they have torn them down now, it's like, even then, it's kind of weird. It says Bell explained that the city hasn't given him any guidance and his insurance claim got denied. So right now he's forced to pay out of pocket for everything he lost. So in this situation, like, I guess the homeowner's insurance didn't cover damage from a sinkhole, and the guy's still paying a mortgage on a house that doesn't exist. This is a terrible story. I don't know how much of it is true. I don't know how he could go about making himself whole after this, but this is a bad deal. It says homeowners say it's not their fault a sinkhole formed under their house, and they believe that it's something that the city should handle. It is not their fault. It cannot be your fault, and it can also not be fair. Life sometimes throws us lemons. Is that what they say? Because, like, for me, for instance, today, my wife was driving to work. That's totally normal. She saw that the tire pressure light went on in the car, low tire pressure. So I went over to get the car and put air in the tires, come back to the house, put air in the tires, go to one tire, and it's got a bubbled sidewall. Can't fix that. Has to be a replaced tire. So now, instead of just filling the air in my tires for my wife's car, I'm shelling out $700 or more for new tires. It's not fair. It's not fair, but it's what I'm doing. It says everything I had in that property is gone, and I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm losing all the way around, losing property. I haven't heard anything from anyone. Now I got to spend my money to get my clothing and prepare for the winter. The guy's lost everything. It said Councilman Robert Stokes said the crews have been working around the clock to repair the hole, but it'll take time. So that's just it. They're fixing the hole, the sinkhole, which, by the way, I don't know that you can fix a sinkhole. The south side will be open at the end of August, but they have to finish up the north side because there's still a lot to be done. I understand the frustration. The best I can do is keep giving an update so we can get this taken care of. So the traffic that needs to go North Avenue can go down North Avenue and not go through people's neighborhoods. So this councilman says that, we have to fix things, but it says nothing about the homeowner that lost their house. It says a site visit. This was a statement from the councilman. It says a site visit this morning showed that a little more erosion occurred after last night's storm, but the sinkhole remains stable and material has been removed to successfully convey storm events. We have a pile contractor on site who is augering and installing H-piles, which you can see in the attached photos. Once the H-piles are installed, we can excavate and install lagging. Installation has been extended into evenings and on weekends to expedite this work, and the shoring of the excavated area is expected to be completed early next week. Please be assured that surveyors are performing a daily survey of monitoring points set on adjacent houses and structure to monitor if any horizontal or vertical movement is observed during sheeting and shoring installation. On the shoring, if fully in place, the contractor can proceed with repair to the storm drain that is within North Avenue. These repairs are expected to take till the end of August. When these storm drains are completed, a portion of the North Avenue will be open. It says repair of the failed storm drain located at the north side of the North Avenue will then commence. So is it a failed storm drain that caused the sinkhole? It says, although there's a time for road repairs, homeowners are still waiting to hear from the city. They want to know what happens next. Will the city reimburse them for tearing down the houses, or will they assist them in another way? It says, I'm not getting any type of feedback or anything from no one. I just think that's wrong. It's been a month. We haven't heard anything from anyone. And this is what I found kind of uncomfortable. It says, Councilman Stokes recommends homeowners continue contacting the city and reach out to Red Cross for housing. Stokes recommends people reach out to the law department, and he will be providing weekly updates to assist the community. I mean, you've lost your house. You believe that the city's at fault. You don't care about the traffic. You care about your home. I don't know what could be done differently. I mean, accidents happen. I don't understand why would the insurance for the homeowner not be covering this. I mean, this seems like an act of God. I mean, what do you think? You should put it in the chat. You should put it in the comment section. I actually had somebody watching for like quite some time tonight. I thought they were going to chat, but it didn't turn out that way. So, oh well. Oh well. Let's keep going. I've got one. I think I'll do one other article. Let's make sure you can see it. It says, Arcadian nurse accused of shooting in a neighbor's apartment over piano noise in California. Well, that's probably not a good neighbor. It says a registered nurse was arrested for allegedly firing several gunshots into her neighbor's apartment over piano noise. Pin Sin Lin, I'm going with it, who had been teaching piano lessons in her Sunset Boulevard apartment in Arcadia for nearly 3 years, was getting ready for a lesson when a bullet that was fired from her ceiling barely missed her. Lynn had initially heard loud bangs around noon, which she assumed was her upstairs neighbor slamming doors. Lynn realized the sounds were gunshots when the fourth loud noise came with a bullet through her ceiling, which struck a lamp on her piano. Suddenly, there's a straight bullet. When I saw the hole, I was like, this is a real gunshot, so I called police immediately. What do you think about that? Is that the first thing you would have done? I would have called police when I saw bullets in my house, bullet holes. It says Lynn found another bullet hole in a cabinet in her kitchen. The bullet, which was fired while she was preparing food at noon, was stopped by a rice cooker on a top shelf. She believes her 39-year-old neighbor was targeting her rather than aimlessly shooting through the floor. Wow. Do you get that? So she's saying the person below her or above her, I don't know which way it was. And she's saying that so upstairs. So somehow she feels like the neighbor could hear her walking around the apartment and was aiming the gun to try and hit her. It says police say they found Pugh intoxicated and in possession of 2 illegally registered guns in her apartment. She was arrested and charged with 2 counts of felony for discharging a firearm in an inhabited dwelling. We discovered she shot 2 rounds through a downstairs apartment unit. We found a bottle of tequila inside her house, and she was exhibiting signs and symptoms of being drunk. It says, it appears both the victim and the suspect have an ongoing dispute over apartment-related issues. It appears that they were fired intentionally. Now, that seems bad. That seems bad. I don't think you should be shooting at your neighbor. It says Pugh, who moved in last year, had been complaining about the noise of her downstairs neighbor, according to Lynn. Pugh is reportedly a Los Angeles registered nurse who was honored with a Daisy Award at the Huntington Health in 2019. The award recognizes excellence in clinical sales skills, caring, and compassion. It says, congratulations to Daisy Award winner Catherine Pugh on a Twitter picture. Now, I think that, in my opinion, this was over the line. It's like this. If you have a domestic dispute, okay, and say it's a husband and wife, and the wife gets an award at work, but she comes home and stabs the husband in the arm. Two different things. And I think I think we all have different personalities. I think we all think differently at times. We all make shitty decisions like this woman did. I really don't think it's right. Now, what you could say is, well, there's a pattern here. A pattern of what? Her getting awards? I mean, I don't want to defend what happened. I think that was a cheap shot. Put it in the comment section. Put it in the chat if you think I'm wrong. It says, there were 2 more shots discovered through Pugh's window and wall. According to the police, the bullets struck 2 other apartments, but there's no reported injuries. It says Pugh's bail was originally set at $250,000 before it was raised to $500,000. However, she was deemed a danger to the community by Judge Terry Lee Smerling, who then ordered her to be held without bail, despite Pugh not having a criminal record. Now, my own opinion, if you shoot a gun at someone and don't kill them, we're still shooting a gun at someone, and you are probably a danger to the community. Now, I suspect there's you have to prove that the person shot the gun. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a good situation, if that makes any sense. I'm not really a big fan of letting people out on bail if you've done something bad. It says, to us, that's absolutely tragic. Pugh's attorney told ABC7, conceivably until she goes to trial, so that could take months. In a serious case like this, maybe even longer. She's going to lose her job. She's going to lose her apartment. She's going to lose her livelihood. It says she has no priors. She's a responsible person. She went to Berkeley, got a scholarship. She got a 4.0 grade point average. She's one of the best people ever put on this earth, says her mom. My mom also says I'm the #1 real estate agent to her. But I mean, I feel like there's some bias there. Lynn does not feel the same way. She believes Pugh will seek revenge if she returns to the apartment above her. Yikes. So here's what I would say. I'm gonna that's the last article we're gonna do. Here's what I would say. You can't be shooting at your neighbors in an apartment complex. You can't get drunk and shoot at your neighbors. It doesn't matter if you had a 4.0. It doesn't matter if you won an award at your school, at your work. You just can't be doing it. And then I don't know that I have a whole lot of compassion that you're going to lose your job, your livelihood. You almost killed someone. You almost took the very most important thing someone has, their life. I mean, I don't know. Do people make bad decisions? Absolutely. But you can't go shoot them randomly through your apartment. It doesn't work. I mean, and I can't feel sorry for you. You almost killed someone. Good people do bad things. Bad people do good things too. I mean, it's just that's irrelevant to the situation. Now, is there some burden of proof required? I think so. But it seems like this. I just don't. I mean, I don't have a lot of. I don't feel sorry for someone that. I mean, by the way, the downstairs neighbor could be a total pain in the ass. They could be killing puppies for all we know. Okay, that still doesn't make it right for you to be shooting at them through your apartment. Am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong in the comment section. You could say shoe on the other foot says, John, if you were accused of shooting at your neighbor through the walls while intoxicated, would you expect to get bail? I would not expect it. I would not expect it. I would hope, but I would also hope that I wasn't the person that did it, because this is not a good idea. I don't know. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comment section. That's all I have for you tonight. Kind of an odd show. I wanted to get this show out about 2:00 in the afternoon. It took until now. So that tells you kind of the day I've been having. I think I'll be back tomorrow. If not, I know you'll be upset. It's okay. We'll get through it. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I'll catch you on the next one.